Welcome once again, race fans, to the Irish Hills area of Michigan and the Michigan International Speedway. Another beautiful day awaits us for Speed's wall-to-wall coverage of all the on-track action today. Coming up in a matter of moments, we have the Nationwide Series qualifying where 51 cars will go for 43 spots. But then later on today, you can see it right here on Speed, 2 practice sessions for the Sprint Cup Series. They head into the 4th to the last race before the Sprint Cup Championship chase is decided. So the race car drivers are poised, and so are we out here at the Speed stage as some of the best fans in the world come down from Detroit, the Motor City, and join us here at the Michigan International Speedway. Hello once again, everybody. I'm John Roberts. Let's take a look at the menu, and it is a full one today. As we see, we got wall-to-wall coverage on Speed of NASCAR's 2 Top Series. Nationwide Series qualifying is next. Sprint Cup practice comes your way at 12:30, and Sprint Cup final practice is at 1:30. Then be sure to join us at 6 o'clock Eastern Time for NASCAR Performance for all your nuts and bolts with Larry Mack. And the NASCAR Smarts features Kyle Petty and Rutledge Wood and a couple of fans as they test their NASCAR knowledge at 6:30 Eastern Time. Now we're going to get you down into the garage area, see what's going on right before we start out this qualifying session with one of the hottest drivers so far this weekend in Michigan. That's Brian Vickers. Let's check in with Randy Pemberton.
Hey, thanks, JR. Of course, winning the pole yesterday for Brian Vickers, fastest in Nationwide Series practice yesterday as well. What about the double? Can you pick that up?
That'd be pretty impressive. I'd love to sit on pole here for the Dollar General team. You've done such a good job. We had a really good car yesterday. We didn't even make a qualifying run, but that's usually worked out pretty good for us. Some of the most poles we've had here in this series is when we didn't make a qualifying run. But we really focus on race trim and keeping the back of the car under it, keeping it free enough to go fast, but not to burn that right rear off. We cornered the right rear, and we ended the practice a little early.
Real quickly, it'd be cool to get the quadruple, 2 poles, 2 wins.
That'd be even better. I'll take it.
All right, Brian, good luck in qualifying, and good luck in the race here on this afternoon as well. And, of course, sitting on the pole for the 400, the Carfax 400 here tomorrow. JR, Brian Vickers looking to make the chase in the Cup Series and looking for a win here in the Nationwide Series. He's been up on the wheel the last few weeks. I wouldn't count him out here this afternoon.
Randy, he's been great when it comes to qualifying this season. That's his 6th pole this season, 3 in a row here at Michigan. Been 100 races since Brian Vickers' first and only win on the Sprint Cup Series, and there's no reason why he could not pull that off and catapult himself up into the chase for the Sprint Cup Championship. On the other side of the break, coming up, we have Nationwide Series qualifying and a full day of action on Speed, so keep it right here.
Time to set the field for the Carfax 250 here at the Michigan International Speedway. The NASCAR Nationwide Series teams are here under beautiful sunny skies. Temperatures expected into the mid-80s later today when they will race. And good morning, everybody. Glad you're with us. Steve Burns, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond back at it again, and excited to be this morning. Now, guys, a couple of headlines. Big field of cars here for the Nationwide Series, 51 cars. Jeff, the last 6 of the last 8 races have been won from a top 5 starting position. We usually know who the usual suspects are in terms of the pole.
Well, the thing is right now, Steve, we come here to Michigan. 1 race a year is all these guys run up here, so they're trying to work off their notes. They got a different tire. But going through the garage early this morning, there were a lot of guys still working on the scales, making changes to their cars. Ryan Newman's one of them. He's won here twice, and yet that team, as far as JR Motorsports is concerned, they're not totally sure what they've got. They never got a chance to make a qualifying run, so I think there's going to be a lot of teams out there right now, Larry, that are not basically knowing what they've got when they drop the hammer.
Yeah, a lot of teams were changing about everything on their race car but the door number because their cars were not good yesterday. Remember, this is an impound procedure. You're pretty much going to race your qualifying setup or qualify your race setup. So there's a lot of guys that's looking at this qualifying session as a 2-lap test session, including this man right here, Kevin Harvick in the 33. They completely rebuilt that car this morning and was late, almost going through inspection for qualifying.
A lot of double duty drivers here this weekend.
His first lap is 39.43 with this 33 car. And that's a substantial pickup from what he ran in final practice last night.
And I think a little bit like what we saw yesterday during the Sprint Cup qualifying, I believe a lot of these guys, especially early on, Larry, will be only taking 1 lap.
14 drivers doing double duty, and a kind of an oddity. We have never had a repeat pole sitter here in the Nationwide Series.
As you said, we only come here once a year. It's hard to build a notebook when we only race once at a track during the course of the season.
Take a look at our track description, brought to you by Papa John's. It's 2-mile speedway. Jeff, you talked about it yesterday. Not a lot of banking.
Not a lot of banking, 18 degrees to the corners. The front straightaways bank 12 degrees, but the back straightaways where the trick kind of comes into play. Not a lot of what you might say banking to catch you when you exit off of turn 2, for example, as well as entering turn 3. It can be a challenge here, guys, because you're carrying a lot of speed, and even in these nationwide cars, it's all about momentum. You got to keep your foot in the throttle if you want to run fast.
Well, Jeff Burton was one of the top 10 quickest drivers in final practice yesterday, and Bob Dillon is with him.
And here is the big question up and down pit road right now. These guys going out for qualifying, can they keep their foot to the floor all the way around this racetrack? Let's talk to the experienced Jeff Burton. He loves racing here at Michigan, and we were just chatting about this. Can you keep it flat out all the way around this racetrack?
We couldn't yesterday. We weren't even close. We never make Mach Q runs, and we did yesterday, and we were really loose. So I don't know if you can or not. I've learned I don't make my mind up till I get out there. And there's a warm up. You go through 3 and 4, and you can learn an awful lot about your car going through 3 and 4 coming to get the green. So until I do that, I really don't know what we have. So I'm not committed to anything right now. I'll get committed taking the green.
We'll find out when this Holiday Inn Express Chevrolet goes out, but that is the question, boys. Can you keep it to the map all the way around?
Thanks, Bob. And the thing is, that's what I'm talking about, Steve. You hear guys like Jeff Burton. We know that Ryan Newman's in that situation. Larry's already talked about Kevin Harvick. You just don't know what you're going to do until you come through 3 and 4. It's all like a shot in the dark. I mean, that's the thing about this racetrack and what's facing these cars today. I mean, it's going to be exciting just from that aspect of it. I think we're going to see several guys get out of the car and be kind of like out of breath because they're going to scare themselves.
Denny Hamlin up now for CJM Racing. He replaced Scott Lagasse a couple weeks ago in that car.
Looks like he got off turn 4 better than Kevin Harvick because he was a little behind Harvick till he picked the throttle up, but he runs 2 100ths faster than Harvick, so he's on the pole, shuts it down. I know I talked to Paul Wolf, the crew chief on this 11 car, and they were very impressed how good this car was on long runs in final practice.
Also joining us this morning, Wendy Venturini. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm with Kevin Harvick. A good solid lap for you, Kevin. Your team had a busy morning getting through tech inspection. Take a sigh of relief now, can't you?
Yeah, Jimmy John's what we're used to be honest with you. This place has always been a little bit different for us with our cars. So we made a lot of changes this morning, and I saw Denny just ran a 41. I think we ran a 40-something. So that's really a lot closer than we were yesterday. We picked up 1.2 seconds from where we practiced yesterday. So proud of them, and we'll fight through the day and do a couple little things different when we come back next time.
All right, thanks to Kevin Harvick. And of course, the impound procedure that we have in place for Nationwide. A lot of changes made to this race car from yesterday.
Thank you, Wendy. 22-year-old Chase Miller in the 47 car. And, you know, Jeff, Kevin Harvick basically speaking to your point. He's a little bit disappointed, wasn't quite sure of the changes, and we always talk about that balancing act here for the Nationwide Series.
We kind of express his concern and what he had to work through. They had a lot of practice yesterday, but we've been trying to make everybody understand with the Nationwide Series, they regulate the tires, so it's not like it is in the Cup division. You don't have that luxury of having an extra set or two to kind of play with early during the practice session, so you have to really be disciplined. You've got to work through a different type of process to get your car like you want it before you put new tires on it. So I think that Kevin's kind of backing up what we've been saying. Challenge of this racetrack is pretty huge. It's big, it's wide, it looks inviting, but it can really be a handful if you don't have a car that's handling correctly.
See Chase Miller out on the racetrack. Looks like he may be the first driver that's going to attempt to run a second lap. They did not run final practice. He was 48th in the first practice. And you know, Jeff Burton was talking about he wouldn't know what he would have with his car till he goes through 3 and 4 the first time through there. For these guys running that first lap, 3 and 4 may be coming to take the green, one of the most important parts of that qualifying, because this is a momentum racetrack. You don't have a lot of power with these cars. You have a very high gear, so you've got to get through 3 and 4 coming to take the green if you're going to run one lap. And I think Bob's with a guy I would be willing to bet plans on only running one lap.
Well, let's find out. Kyle Busch, the guys in the booth want to know, you're planning on only running one lap, but can you keep your foot to the floor all the way around?
I don't think we can keep it to the floor all the way around. I mean, the track's relatively cool right now for the morning, but you know, these things, they're a little bit slicker through the air than the trucks. You know, the trucks you can do it, but I don't know. We'll see. I think the NOS Energy Drink Toyota is pretty decent, but you know, we didn't make a qualifying run yesterday, so we'll just see how this this lap lays down and go race them today.
All right, one lap for Kyle Busch around this racetrack. And just an update, guys, he did go to Toledo Speedway last night, qualified on the outside of the front row in that CRA Super Series race, but a trailing arm bracket broke coming off of turn number 2, about 15 laps in the race, and he hit the wall hard on the backstretch.
His bad luck kind of continues, guys. I just hate to see it for him. You make it kind of effort to go over and entertain the fans and have a little bit of fun, and things happen.
Just look at those numbers right there. And I mean, if you just look at basically his numbers in the Nationwide Series alone, of course, Kyle Busch comes in here with a 212-point lead over Carl Edwards.
And 10 straight consecutive finishes of first or second.
That to me is mind-boggling. It just, in today's competition, how difficult and what an accomplishment that really is.
Brad Keselowski, a two-time winner here and a Michigan native, or excuse me, a two-time winner in this series. Won at Dover, won at Iowa. Would like to go to victory lane here in his home state.
Now, I would say he's going to run this second lap because he was third quickest on lap 1. You can see looks like a little better. I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised that maybe our first 2 cars did not run that second lap. Like Kyle Busch pointed out, the racetrack is cool, and I'm just not sure that you are 100% up to speed when you get to the start-finish line to start your qualifying run. What happens is the grip of the tire starts to go away.
Well, what you're seeing here on the second lap has happened not only to Keselowski, but it happened to Chase Miller the same way. They had a better second lap going into turn 3, and it's almost like when you got to the middle of the corner from the exit out, it lost that little bit of grip, lost a little bit of speed, and he winds up being third, just a little bit slower than what he ran the first lap. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, and I think Wendy's caught up with our pole sitter.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin, yesterday in practice you said it needed to roll through the center better. Did they make the changes you needed for this qualifying run?
Well, in qualifying it did for sure, but we were practicing on old tires and we actually added a little bit of fuel just to extend our tire run. So we pretty happy with this CJM Toyota. The Carfax coming on, being the title sponsor for today's race. We got a lot to live up to try to win for those guys, and I'm just so impressed. I'm really impressed with how good this car is and how good this team is as a whole.
Kudos to CJM. That is a big smile for Denny Hamlin, guys.
I tell you what, he's not the only one smiling. Paul Wolf and that 11 group, they're smiling knowing he may be in the car some more this year.
Coming up, Eric McClure, Jeff Burton, and Brian Vickers. NASCAR Nationwide qualifying on Speed is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, the official auto insurance provider for NASCAR. And brought to you by Touch of Gray. Gets rid of some gray, never all. Eric McClure has just finished his qualifying attempt there. The 24-car McClure runs a second lap at the slowest of 5 drivers to qualify.
And Jeff Hammond pointed out to me that Eric McClure is the first guy to run a second lap that actually picked up a little over a 10th. And here's Jeff Burton in this 29 car. Jeff was 8th quickest in final practice last night.
Jeff Burton has 11 starts here at MIS. Took a pole back in 1998.
And he actually won the race from the pole, and that was a caution-free race.
Yeah, he added to the Rouse Fenway numbers by doing that, by winning that day.
Well, I tell you what, he looks like he's a good 2/10 quicker, losing a little bit of ground off turn 4, which seems to be the Achilles heel for a lot of the guys, but looks like he may run down in the low 30s, high 20s possibly. 39.21 for Jeff, so he beats Denny Hamlin by 0.2 of a second. He'll absolutely shut her down.
Back to Bob.
Well, here's a guy that may not know any better. His first attempt at Michigan International Speedway. Trevor Bayne, 5th quick in practice yesterday in that final one. I want to know, how hard are you going to run, and can you keep the foot to the floor all the way around?
Well, they tell me I need to be wide open, so we'll see if we can. Looks like that 11 and 33 both were, so that's our goal. We'll see if the car will stick. I know they worked their butts off this morning and last night and changed a lot on this thing, and even though we were 5th quick, we wanted to get it better. So I think Jerry and all these guys worked really hard on this Aaron's Toyota to get it right, so I think we might have a shot here.
18 years old, guys. You got to love youth and exuberance.
And he is that, absolutely.
And has a fast race car. fifth and final practice yesterday and happy hour. And Jeff, wanted to make another point as we watch Brian Vickers. You're right. They had their first practice of an hour and 45 minutes. They had a second practice late yesterday afternoon of at least an hour. So a lot of practice here.
Yeah, it's kind of unusual for these guys to get that much, but you know, at a racetrack where really tire wear wasn't really the big focus, but it seemed like the grip issue really kind of got caught up with these guys. So they couldn't, in my opinion, they couldn't take full advantage of the practice time that was given, is what I'm saying.
And that's why Trent Owens, the crew chief for Brian Vickers in his 32 car, they absolutely set that second practice out. Trent said, I didn't want to use another set of tires. And you know what? We're not going to be racing in these conditions, but I'm going to tell you, he's going to run down close to a 39 flat. How about 38.95 for this 32 car? Of course, Brian Vickers, the pole sitter from yesterday in Sprint Cup Series qualifying.
He's only about half a second off of what he qualified in the Sprint Cup pole yesterday.
Never seen a sweep of pole positions here at Michigan International for the Nationwide and Sprint Cup Series teams.
And he's crept within about 3.5 tenths of the track record. Greg Biffle set the track record a couple of years ago at a 38.59. I'm not sure we'll get there. That 38.95 is going to be pretty tough, because the track's only going to get warmer as we go into the session.
It's only going to get warmer as we go through the session. But to me, do you think Brian Vickers has got Michigan figured out?
You know, I was listening to his post-qualifying press conference, and he seemed kind of subdued. And I got to thinking about it. 6 poles for him in 2009. I think he's extremely happy about that, but I also think he wants to back those pole positions up with a win.
That's the thing, and he has to in Sprint Cup, because he's 14th coming in here in the points, but that's actually 3 consecutive Sprint Cup Series poles here at Michigan. You know, Steve, I talked about 2-lap test sessions qualifying. This one right here, Danny O'Quinn Jr., he said that's absolutely what this is. Same deal. They changed spindles. They moved the rear end housing. They changed 4 springs, 4 shocks on this 01 car. He said, I just want to make sure I make 2 circles in this qualifying lap.
Bit of a science project.
Absolutely. He said we were not very good the way we were. He said this thing was spinning out, getting in the corner, and wouldn't turn in a 10-acre field on the exit of the corner yesterday.
Picked a pretty bad place to come with that kind of problem. You carry so much speed off into the corner, and the corners are so big and sweeping, and you don't have a lot of banking to help you turn. So Danny O'Quinn Jr., that would be a tall order to get that car working. Right now, guys, it looks like it may have paid off a little bit for Danny. 6th quickest.
I know it can be deceiving looking at the practice sheet, because you don't know who made qualifying runs or race runs with this impound procedure, but I'd say he picked up 2 seconds from his fastest lap last night.
Hey, he can hold it wide open.
Kenny Wallace, speaking of wide open, one of the drivers coming up soon. Thumbs up, Herm. Tonight, history will be made and the dirt's going to fly when the best of the best go head-to-head in the granddaddy of all sprint car races. The 49th annual Knoxville Nationals. Live coverage begins tonight at 10 Eastern only on Speed. Michael McDowell in the 26 car, 6th overall, 39.951. And that brings us to Mr. Kyle Busch.
Now, he quit a little early in that final practice last night. He was actually 11th quickest. And, you know, we saw some of his numbers as far as wins, but to me, one of the numbers just blows me away, Steve, is the laps led. Over 1,800 laps in Nationwide Series alone, and over 3,100 laps total in all 3 series. He'll have his work cut out for him tomorrow, though, because he qualified 39th last night.
And this is a pretty amazing number, too. 19. He has led 19 straight races, and that ties him with Sam Ard for the most in that series.
It's not going to be long. We're not going to be mentioning Harry Gant and Mark Martin as far as records in the Nationwide Series, as he ends up qualifying 2nd.
10s. Larry talked about the laps led, and again, 10 consecutive finishes or of 1st or 2nd. Wendy?
Well, Brian Vickers' car says match light on the hood, and I think someone lit a match under Brian Vickers. We all say, I think you have this track figured out.
Well, you never can say that. As soon as you tell a racetrack that, it'll prove to you otherwise really quick. You know, the guys did a great job with Dollar General. Toyota was unbelievable. The car was great from the time we unloaded. It was really loose, which I liked, but we were burning the right rear off, so we adjusted and adjusted and adjusted. We never even got a chance to make a qualifying run, but hopefully it'll work out for us and we can stay on the pole.
All right, good luck to Brian Vickers. It may be 2 poles this weekend here at Michigan as it tends to warm up right now.
And Wendy, as we said earlier, that has never happened here, where one driver won both poles at the Michigan International Speedway. Next up, Robert Richardson in the Mahindra Racing machine. Richardson, the 11th driver to qualify of 51.
He was 36th quickest in that final practice last night, trying to make his 10th start of 2009. His best qualifying effort this year was 29th twice. His best finish was 21st at Nashville.
Bob Dillner.
Carl Edwards about to climb into his car. There he goes into the number 60, fastest in the final practice session yesterday, talking to his crew just a little bit. And Carl Edwards has a very good race car, but Carl, Brian Vickers put up a big number, a 90. Can you beat it?
That's a pretty good lap. Yesterday with the Save-A-Lot Fusion, I ran a 39:20 something, and that seemed pretty fast, but I guess the last time we were here, the pole was a 38:68, and you know, I hope I can run a fast lap, but either way, we've got a lot of poles. We need more wins. You know, this race is going to be pretty interesting today with the heat, and hopefully we've got a good race car for that.
Here's something very interesting, guys. Listening to the scanner or radio chatter with some of the guys that have qualified, both Kyle Busch and Jeff Burton said they had a whole heck of a lot more in the car. The track has much more grip than they expected.
Well, Carl was a little modest about talking about the 38:68 because he was actually the guy that ran that lap because he sat on the pole and won the race a year ago.
Michael Annette, an Iowa native for Germain Racing. This is his first NASCAR Nationwide Series start at Michigan International. Let's go back to Wendy.
And Kyle Busch has climbed out of his race car. Semi-smile. I know maybe not everything you wanted out of the car as these temps are starting to heat up against you.
Yeah, it is what it is for everybody, but you know, the Nelson Energy Drink Camry was fine, just a little loose, so off of 2, so I wanted to make sure I didn't do anything stupid in 3 and 4, drove a little bit of a push into it and slowed us down. So we'll see where it lines us up, but you know, we'll go get them later today. Qualifying doesn't mean anything.
All right, there you have it, the opinion of Kyle Busch. Steve?
Doesn't mean anything. Gotta love him. Oh,
I confused him. Why we do qualifying?
He has proved, though, that starting at the back is not a bad thing, but I don't think he's going to start at the back.
Will Justin Allgaier ever come back to trackside after last night?
I wouldn't.
Trevor Bayne took the pole position at O'Reilly Raceway Park. He nearly bumps Brian Vickers from the top spot, 39:15. 183.885 miles per hour for young Trevor Bayne, second quick.
He has become quite the little qualifying animal this year. Sat on the pole a few weeks ago, I think, at ORP. And here's a guy right here, Mike Bliss, that had a very eventful day yesterday. He actually hit the wall off turn 2. He didn't get near it that time. He stayed away from it. In the first practice, they repaired the right side. And then late in final practice, I talked to owner Joe Nemechek, said they broke a piston in the engine, so this car will have to start that 250-mile race later on today from the rear of the field regardless of where they qualify. But this is pretty much the first laps on this fresh engine.
Mike Bliss has 3 Nationwide Series starts here. Best finish of 6th. That came last year.
You know, Mike is still sitting well in the top 10 in driver points. Was relieved of his driving duties driving for James Finch, the 1 car. But the irony of that, he's actually in the 09 Phoenix Racing Cup car and qualified for the race tomorrow.
And he's not sure why.
And I wasn't either.
Let's go back to Bob.
Here's what I want to know from Justin Allgaier. Is it going to be more exciting qualifying today, or was it more exciting on that trackside set with the boys last night?
I'll tell you, I had to drink an energy drink last night before I went on just to keep up with those guys. We had a great time, but I think qualifying today is going to be pretty interesting. I was watching some of the lap with some of the guys qualifying, and I would say if you could hold it wide open, you'd be really good. Now, I'm not sure that we have a car capable of doing that, but Verizon Wireless Dodge was really good in race trim, so that's all we really focused on yesterday.
Justin Allgaier speaking like a veteran there. Maybe not going to be able to hold it wide open around this racetrack, Wendy.
And Trevor Bain, who is talking to Ty Norris with Michael Waltrip Racing right now. A great run for Trevor right there, 39.15. Will it stay on the outside of the front row, Trevor?
I don't know, there's still a lot of good cars left, but I'm happy with that time right there. Got loose off of 4 and I had to stay up high. I couldn't bring it to the bottom just because it was so sideways. And to run that good of a time after yesterday, I mean, these guys worked so hard on this Aaron's Toyota to get it right for this qualifying run and for the race tonight. And it seems like they did a good job fixing it so far. So we'll just see what we got in the race here tonight.
All right, Trevor Bain working that wheel. I can tell he's already sweating first thing this morning.
Wendy the Shy won Kenny Wallace on the racetrack. He's the 15th of 51 drivers to qualify. He'll make start 441 later this afternoon.
It's actually going to be a pretty good lap for Kenny, and I guess I need to make sure and straighten something out that we talked about yesterday, or I talked about in the practice show. Kenny talked about it later on. I made the comment that U.S. Border Patrol would not be returning a sponsor.
I held on to it.
Of this car as Kenny ends up 9th quickest.
He held on to it.
The deal is it's a government agency, and they cannot say whether they're going to be back or not be back until very late in the calendar year. My intent was to promote that here's a race team that's doing a lot, fairly underfunded. They're sitting 12th in the points. I was not maliciously saying the sponsors going away and not coming back. That was not my intent, because this race team, Chris Rice, Kenny Wallace, they are doing a good job.
Yeah, top 20 finishes in their last 3 races, including top 10s at O'Reilly Raceway Park and Iowa. Kenny 9th overall. Brad Coleman next up in the 20 car. He drives a Toyota.
Beep, beep.
Roadrunner.
Roadrunner.
Yeah. That's right. We told the story of a unfortunate coyote who met the front end of his race car during a testing session.
He was testing for Joe Gibbs Racing out at the GM Desert Proving Grounds out in Arizona this past week, and pretty much centered a coyote right in the middle of that race car. About destroyed that race car, to say the least, for the coyote.
Wile E. Coyote did not fare very well against the Roadrunner this time.
Hey, Larry.
Hey.
Fans Twittered me and said, please don't tell that story ever again on the air.
Well, Wendy, you didn't. We did.
They didn't Twitter me. If they did, I wouldn't know how to find it anyhow. This is going to be a great little qualifying run for Brad Coleman. Been making several starts in this 20 car during the summer. Going to be right in there amongst all those other Toyotas, it looks like. Right now we have 5 Toyotas in the top 6. Brad's 5th quickest, just behind Jeff Burton and just in front of Denny Hamlin.
You know what's impressive about Brad Coleman? Top 5 starts in 4 of his 5 races this season.
Meep, meep.
Well, you did it again.
But I didn't tell the story.
Wendy just said they don't want to hear that coyote story again.
I didn't tell the story, but once, maybe twice.
Brian Vickers is the quickest. You're mean. Toyotas of Vickers, Bain, and Kyle Busch, the quickest here in qualifying. David Rudiman just qualified his Toyota in the 15th position out of 17. 18th driver to qualify, that guy in the 60 car, Carl Edwards.
Well, he was the fastest car in final practice, unless he really gets a good run through 3 and 4. And on the exit of 4, I don't think he's going to overtake, maybe not even get in the top 5 with this 60 car. Second in the points. 212 points behind points leader Kyle Busch, and right now he is 6th quickest, the lone Ford up there in the top 10 or 12.
Carl mentioned he had a bunch of poles this year, 5 to be exact: California, Nashville, Phoenix, Lowe's Motor Speedway, and Chicagoland, but it's not going to happen today. Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, we like calling this guy just in joking manners. Ukulele, J.J. Yaley back in the big-time NASCAR scene. Good to see you back. Want to know about your qualifying run here, what you think, and how many more times are we going to see you over here in the Nationwide Series?
Well, I'm just happy Randy McDonald gave me a shot to drive this McDonald Motorsports number 81, and you know, we were 16th in the first practice, and was pretty impressed with everything. So, you know, hopefully we can qualify pretty decent. You know, the car's locked in on points. You know, we've talked about the rest of the year. You know, they're a little short on sponsorship dollars, so if we can find a little bit of sponsorship, maybe we can get in this thing and run some more races. But we'll see if we can't get them a good top 15 finish, get them a little bit higher in points, and have a little bit of fun at the same time.
Look at that, Steve. Didn't he sound like Kenny Wallace there?
He's a salesman. Got to be to drive a race car.
Exactly, especially when it doesn't have sponsorship. Ooh, bring it back down. Bring it back down.
Justin Allgaier in this 12 car had him on our trackside show last night. making his first Nationwide Series start. He was 19th in the final practice. You know, something we hadn't mentioned, we've been talking about Kyle Busch leading the points, Steve and Jeff, but there's only 4 drivers with 13 races to go within 1,000 points. 3 other drivers within 1,000 points of Kyle Busch. Justin Allgaier is 5th in the points, having a great year. 1,041 points out of the points lead with 13 races to go. It's pretty much a 2 to 4 man race for this championship.
Well, if you're Kyle Busch and you finish first or second every week,
kind of hard to beat him.
Kind of hard to
Yeah,
make.
it's like Brad Keselowski. We talked about it yesterday. He's having a championship season, but when you have the season like Kyle Busch is having, you just can't get there.
And to which Mr. McReynolds speaks. A look at the point standings after 22 races. More qualifying up next. Stay with us here at Michigan.
Rev up your night on Big Block Thirsty on Speed. First at 8, Pink's All Out heats up the Heartland at Indy. Then at 9, the Wolfpack chases a wanted drug dealer on Jack. Then on Wrecked at 10, Bad Luck strikes O'Hare, sending the crew into panic mode. Big Block Thirsty begins on Thursday at 8, only on Speed.
Jeff Hammond announces his presence with authority.
Absolutely, with enthusiasm.
I like Thirsties.
Jason Leffler, 12th overall in his Toyota. We talked about it at the top of the show. One of the guys probably disappointed with his effort.
I would say so. Yeah, considering you've got all those other Toyotas up there. And here's Tony Raines in that 34 car, comes in here 14th in the points. Unfortunately, Tony was the only car that did not qualify for the Sprint Cup Series. We had 44 cars here, and Tony was the group, had to load up and go to the house. He's the slowest of the 21 cars. You know, Steve, you mentioned at the top of the show, 51 cars here to try to qualify for this race. Next week at Bristol, 53 entries in the Nationwide Series, and there's about 48 or 49 Cup cars entered for that race.
Thunder Valley will be rocking next week.
It's going to be full. The infield's going to be full. That's
like
for sure.
In just a few days, Wednesday, they're going to have the Camping World Truck Series there and a modified race. That's a doubleheader right there.
Yes, it is.
I love going to Bristol, guys. Love going to Bristol.
Jason Keller in the 27 Ford. Baker Curb Racing. 14 starts for Jason here at Michigan International.
You said 14 starts?
I did.
He was 14th yesterday in the final practice also. That was another one of the teams we noticed doing some extra work on their car this morning in the garage area, trying to chase this racetrack a little bit.
Jason only has 1 top 10 qualifying effort this year in 2009. He qualified 3rd at Bristol. Comes in here with no top 5s, 6 top 10 finishes. Kind of working on a top 10 run right now. I know we're only about halfway through this qualifying session, but going to be a decent lap for this 27 car.
Larry, you mentioned yesterday, Jason Keller will make career start number 480 later this afternoon.
Keeps closing in on that 500 mark. Right now, he is 9th quickest. He's the 2nd quickest Ford.
Jason Keller will be followed by Matthew Carter, J.J. Yaley, and Reed Sorensen. Keller 9th overall. Brian Vickers still the guy to beat. He put down a lap of 38.95, 184.814 miles per hour.
And he has dodged a lot of the big bullets.
That's what you're talking about, Steve.
Yes,
next week.
sir. 7 p.m. on Wednesday. You can see the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series set up at 8. Can Ron Hornaday win 6 in a row?
Well, I know somebody's going to be showing up there to try to upset that little situation. Ryan Newman. He's going to be wind up running all 4 events. Larry was talking about this yesterday. He'll run the Wheeling Modified race as well as the Camping World Truck race, followed up by the Nationwide car. Be back in that 5 car one more week, as well as driving the 39 car on Saturday night under the lights at Bristol.
I'd watch just about anything race at Bristol.
You got that right. They've run about everything at Bristol, too.
Travis Carter's been around the sport a long time, worked with Jeff over at Junior Johnson Associates, was a team owner for a while. Actually, Jimmy Spencer drove for Travis Carter, his son Matthew, driving the 61 car.
I want to make sure you understand something.
Yes, sir.
Travis didn't work for me. I worked for Travis.
Oh, I said he worked with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
I really worked for him. He was my boss.
Tell you what, his son Matt has done a good job since he stepped into this car. He started driving it at Loudon back in late June, and the very next week came home with a 15th place finish at Daytona. And right now, Matt's going to end up 15th in this 61 car, one of the cars that's locked into the show. Remember, in Nationwide Series, it's the top 30 in owner points, not the top 35 like Cup.
Back to Bob.
David Reagan, 7th quick in that final practice session yesterday, so a lot of people looking for good things from you here in Michigan. I know just outside the Motor City, very important for Roush Fenway Racing, but how about in qualifying here? How good's your car?
You know, our Ford Fusion is very fast. Everyone on our discount tire team really worked hard to bring a good car up here. We're usually really strong at the 1.5 mile, 2 mile racetracks, and like you mentioned, it's special place for all of Roush Fenway and certainly Ford Motor Company. So I don't know if we can lay down a lap like Vickers did. That was a pretty fast lap, but we've got a really good race car for today. So anywhere in that top 5 would be good, and we'll go race them today.
It's a big day for the sporting world in Detroit, isn't it, guys? I think we got the Detroit Lions playing today, the Tigers, and the Nationwide Series race here at Michigan International.
Tigers have a lead in the American League Central. Did David Reagan win? Tigers won on a walk-off home run to beat Kansas City.
I think it said, please try again.
Thank you for playing. J.J. Yaley just coming to pit road after completing his lap. Nice effort by Yaley in that 81 car for McDonald Motorsports. 11th overall of 25 drivers. The 26th driver to qualify is Reed Sorensen. Sorensen, 14th overall in his Chevrolet. Bob Dillner.
Greg Biffle, always one to watch here at Michigan, knows how to stand on the gas. How hard you can be able to stand on the gas in qualifying here late in the draw?
Well, it's heated up a lot, so I've been watching times continue to slow down. I think our City Financial Ford Fusion, pretty good car in race trim. We made one qualifying run yesterday. We were about 2/10 off of Carl's run, so I saw he did a 39.60, so hopefully we get right in there somewhere, get us in the top 15 for today's start.
All right, Greg Biffle. And speaking of the sporting world, guys, Biffle was actually made an appearance at the Minnesota Twins game on Wednesday night.
Well, we got more and more drivers attending baseball games, Major League Baseball games, throwing out the first pitch.
You're jealous of Joey Logano.
Doing the 7th inning stretch, and you know, a matter of fact, I am. He said he went out and bought a baseball where he could practice. He's never thrown a baseball before. He's going to throw out the first pitch at a Braves game coming up in the near future.
He needs some training.
Work with him, Larry.
Come on, Larry.
Can I use you as a back, as a target?
As long as I'm allowed to wear my catcher's gear.
Hey, guys. Just to let you know, Biffle actually didn't throw out the first pitch there the other night, but what he did get the opportunity to do was to drive his 3M Ford Fusion out on the racetrack. And I asked him, did you do a little donuts? He said, I think I'd get in a little bit of trouble for that, but he said it would be fun.
You said that was the Minnesota Twins, Bob?
Yes, Minnesota Twins. He was up there because 3M is headquartered in that area. So he and the entire 3M folks went over to the Twins game the other night.
And Bob, you meant he drove the car out on the baseball field, not on the racetrack.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you want to do the donuts on the grass.
So he drove that Roush Fenway Ford out there in the Minnesota Twins Stadium. Interesting. I guess, though, when you got a sponsor, you got to go along, as we've got Steve Wallace here in the 66 car, 11th quickest. He'll be one and done.
Steve Wallace, 6th in points coming into this race here at Michigan International. The 18th time the Nationwide Series teams have raced on this 2-mile super speedway. Scott Wimmer, that number 40 car. You see he's a 6-time winner in this division. From Wausau, Wisconsin, also the hometown of
Dave Marcus.
Attaboy.
You know, I said something earlier, and I do want to add to this because I always want to make sure our information is absolutely accurate. I mentioned it's a top 30 in Nationwide Series points that's locked in. Now, to be locked in, you also have to make all of the attempts. Now, right now, as it stands, all of the top 30 owners in the Nationwide Series, they've attempted every single race. Doesn't mean you have to qualify, but you have to make an attempt. But what's interesting is Rick Hendrick, JR Motorsports with the 5 car, they're 31st, not far out of the top 30, but they would not be eligible because they have this will only be their 15th attempt in 2009.
You bring that up, and guess what? We're really getting close to knockout qualifying here.
Yes, we are.
About 2 or 3 more cars, and we'll get an opportunity to see who's going to wind up making the show and who's going to have to load up and head back to wherever.
Well, Scott Wimmer, he'll make the show because he's locked in, but it won't be because he ran fast. He is the slowest of the 27 cars that's qualified.
After Scott Wimmer, it's David Reagan, Greg Biffle, Brendan Gaughan. Coming up a little bit later, Mike Wallace. Stay with us here on Speed. NASCAR Nationwide qualifying on Speed is brought to you by Toyota. For the latest Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward. Brian Vickers has the fastest lap. That's a 38.95 or 184.814 miles per hour. As we see David Reagan now in the discount tire Ford. And Larry, you and Jeff both making the point, when we watch the tracker to the bottom middle of your screen, we'll see speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour.
I mean, this is a fast racetrack. What makes it tough is David Reagan ends up 6th quickest just in front of his teammate Carl Edwards. As you pointed out at the top of the show in the track description, there's just not a lot of banking that holds the race car. The thing, I don't want to shortcut anyone else left that's out there to qualify. I know we've got Greg Biffle, but the fact, I don't know that the racetrack has a 38.95 in it anymore. I think it has lost way too much grip over the course of this qualifying session.
It is long since been gone. If we take a look at what Roush Fenway's done up here at MIS with 20 wins, 11 in Sprint Cup, 4 in the Nationwide Series, and 5 in trucks. And if it's going to be like a backyard track, Steve, it looks like Jack Roush has got to be pretty happy with the results here.
There's the Biff, Greg Biffle. He's followed by Brendan Gaughan, and then knockout qualifying starts here at Michigan International.
He was 3rd quickest in that final practice last night. As I mentioned, Greg is the track record holder here, set on the pole back in August of 2007, 2 years ago, at over 186 miles per hour.
Greg starts 17th in tomorrow's Carfax 400. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. 8 starts here at Michigan in the Nationwide Series. Best finish of 2nd.
He gets off it, just entering the corner, right back wide open, 177 miles an hour through the center of the corner.
Car looks just a little bit on the free side, and I think that hurt him just a little bit. He's right in there in the 10th position at a 39.45, and he'll be done.
Greg has wins this season at Vegas and Phoenix.
Now it gets interesting because you either have to go
or go home. Cornhole tournament there on the backstretch.
Cars going down the back straightaway. They're just playing their game.
Yep. You got to be focused, guys. I mean, think about it. You guys on the racetrack, I mean, they're focused on driving, not worried about people partying on the inside of the racetrack. So
and
vice versa. You know?
And we do have one more of our top 30 to go as you're on the racetrack right now. Brendan Gaughan.
How did you miss him?
He was way at the bottom of that scoring monitor.
Oh, okay. Because I guarantee you won't miss Brendan. If he's anywhere in the crowd, you will find him.
He's struggling a little bit here recently in this series. Just one top 10 finish in his last 11 races.
Still sitting up in the top 10 in points, sitting 9th. In fact, when you look at Rusty Wallace's 2 teams, Stephen Wallace 6th in the points and Brendan 9th in the points. He was 13th quickest in that practice yesterday.
He has a win here in the Camping World Truck Series.
He has a pole here in 2009, set on the pole back at Bristol in the spring. It's going to be just a respectable lap, about mid-pack as we speak. 14th quickest for the 62 car.
Right there behind his teammate, Stephen Wallace, 14th.
So that does it for the cars who have a guaranteed starting position in this afternoon's race. Let's take a look at the drivers now. And it is a lengthy list. As we said, 51 drivers in all trying to make this afternoon's race. Just 43 will start.
And this is not all of them, folks.
Yeah, there's more.
Second
Wait,
page.
there's more.
But I think that's awesome to be up here in Brooklyn, Michigan, and to have 51 race cars pull up here, most of them obviously from the southeast, to try to qualify for this 43-car field. I think that makes a pretty nice statement about the state of the Nationwide Series right now. And about the state of the sport in general. I tell you, talking about the state of the sport, real quickly as we're watching Curtis Davis qualify. How about, I know we've raced the last 2 Mondays with the Sprint Cup Series. The crowd that came back out to those 2 venues on Monday at Pocono and last Monday at Watkins Glen, that was overwhelming. I know a lot of people probably called in sick on Monday, and rightly so, but that was very enlightening to see those crowds come back to the racetrack for a Monday rain-out race.
Guys, they did a lot of work on this 0 car. Got a chance to talk to Johnny Davis earlier this morning. Curtis's father, they changed front end settings, readjusted the rear end. They did a lot of work on this car. They experienced the same problems that everybody else has been fighting. Getting into the corner, the car was so loose, Curtis could not do anything with it. And right now, those improvements have definitely made that car faster. They've picked up almost a second over what they practiced at yesterday.
Now, I think we will see a change now that we are into the go or go homers. If you do not run a lap, I'd say right now, if you don't run a lap in maybe the top 20, that you're probably going to get the call from the crew chief, you need to run a second lap. Some cases it may pay off. Right now, Curtis Davis, he's a little bit quicker, at least heading off into turn 3 than lap 1. But as we said yesterday during Sprint Cup Series qualifying, you have to go down swinging. If you can pick up a few 100ths, Bob, that may make a difference in getting you into the show.
Absolutely correct, and that's what the 0 car is trying to do out there. And this guy trying to pick up anything that he can on the racetrack from a whole bunch of different people, talking about Richard Childress, his grandson, Austin Dillon. I saw Jeff Burton talking to your teammate yesterday. Was he giving you some good pointers?
Yeah, definitely. Jeff's helped a lot this weekend. We started out not where we wanted to be and just a little off, and it's just hard, you know. A little bit of experience would really help, and we're getting there little by little, and hopefully we'll go out there and put the 2 car in the show right here.
All right, good luck to Austin Dillon here, and a good kid that has really come through the ranks here. And we got a lot more qualifying to come here at Michigan International Speedway, including Austin Dillon and a host of others.
67-year-old Morgan Shepherd has qualified for 17 of 22 races this season.
You know, I told the story yesterday. Of course, Morgan attempts every single race, qualified for the race at Watkins Glen, and his alternator went out on lap 4. So what that made him do, he had to cut off everything he possibly could electrical, including all the blowers that blows air in on him, and nursed that thing home to a 21st place finish without any driver comfort whatsoever. Morgan's first lap a 47.75, so he will have to probably go ahead and try to run this second lap. Curtis Davis did pick up about a 1/2 tenth on his second lap, but I think Morgan said, you know what, there's no way. That thing, he had his hands full when he went off into turn 1. He said, no sense of me even trying it.
And Morgan Shepherd is scheduled to be followed by Mike Wallace, Jeremy Clements, and J.C. Stout.
I just don't think that 4077 is going to do it, Jeff. We'll have to see a few more cars go, but that's going to be a push, I think.
Well, the thing is right now, and again, we need to explain that this racetrack is so temperamental. We saw it yesterday during qualifying for the Cup cars, as well as final practice, how it kind of affected the speed of the racetrack. Going out early, plus as far as this is concerned, all these guys that have got to go through this knockout qualifying, it's fair to them because they're all as close to, you know, the same track temperature as possible. But this place is going to slow down and slow down and slow down. No matter who you are, you got to have a very fast race car to be able to put down a fast lap. We've already discussed the fact that even though this is giving everybody a fair shot, Brian Vickers' time is very secure. I think he's going to wind up winning the pole here. But now the big thing is who's going to be around to watch him take the green or who'll be going home. Right now, Larry, I think that 40-50 is pretty much, I think, the benchmark we're looking for. I think that Curtis Davis is right on the edge in that area as far as being able to feel good about it. Again, we haven't seen enough cars to go. 9 cars will be going home at the end of this thing.
Mike has 10 starts here at Michigan International. Best finish of 9th back in 2004.
You know, we were talking about some of the older crew chiefs, old-time crew chiefs, talking about Travis Carter. The guy turning the wrenches on this car here this weekend, David If. That's a crew chief from the past.
I thought I saw him from a distance. I didn't get a chance to holler at him. I was trying to catch up with our ride early this morning, but I said, dang, it looks like David is.
David, crew chief, did some work with Benny Parsons.
Darrell Waltrip.
Yep, Darrell Waltrip.
I wonder, does he still own that little dirt track down?
He sold it.
He did? Okay, he owned a little dirt track down in near Gastonia, North Carolina.
But it was great to see him down in that garage area. And I laughed at David real quick as Mike finishes his qualifying run. Car wiggled with him down in 3 and 4. He said he got in the van this morning with all those young guys, and those guys were going, gosh, this is early. And David said, you didn't read about this in the book, did you? He just is in front of Curtis Davis. 40-35, that was on his first lap. I would feel okay about that 40-35, like you were saying, Jeff.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Let's go to Wendy.
Well, since Brian Vickers has smashed that earlier time in qualifying, we decided to check out some track temperatures since not much else is going on this side of pit road. Now, when we started qualifying at 10:30 this morning, track temperature approximately around 108 degrees. So if we take our gauge now and we track the temperature increase, it was right at 117, 116 and a half. So it is creeping up slowly, guys, but we'll have to keep an eye on it in about an hour as we get towards the end of practice. It's definitely going to heat up some more. There you have it. Weather report from track temperatures. Larry Mack, I know you love it.
I do. And I would say, Wendy, that right there could be a couple of tenths slower, just in what you saw right there from the beginning of qualifying to right now, as we're about 34 cars of the 51 into this session.
Jeremy Clements, another driver from the upstate of South Carolina.
Well, he drove off in there and it was looking pretty impressive, but now gave up a little bit of ground. We're starting to rally back. Talked to Ricky Pearson, who's crew chief in this car, and they had to make some changes. And Steve, this is one of the cars that he was explaining to me. They had to tighten the car up for qualifying because it was more important to get into the race and than it was to try to run a fast, get the car where it race well. They feel like if they get in the show, they're going to be too tight for today's event.
I think he's going to be the fastest of the go-home cars so far. He will at a 40.08. I'm not so sure that I wouldn't shut that down. I feel pretty good about that. Now, Jeremy has 4 starts in 2009, and he will shut it down. It looks like he finished 16th at St. Louis, but Jeremy has been the driver that's been doing a lot of the practice and qualifying in the Joe Gibbs 18 car for Kyle Busch, most recently in Iowa when Kyle was trying to get there from Pocono.
Yeah, good job by Jeremy Clements. 23rd overall, as Larry said, 40.081, and that translates to 179.636 miles per hour.
J.C. Stout coming out on the racetrack now in the 19 car.
Now, they had a little bit of confusion in final practice last night. The rules are that other than qualifying, if that car is on the racetrack, practice or obviously the race, you have to have a spotter on top of the grandstand. And yesterday when final practice started, they did not have a spotter, and NASCAR would not allow them to go on the racetrack. It's a safety issue.
And let's make sure you explain, how did NASCAR know that? They do a roll call.
Yes, they do, before every practice and for sure before the race.
Exactly.
Stout, 25 years old, from Castle, New York. He's one of many drivers trying to make their first nationwide series start on this track. I believe there's 14 of them. Is that correct, Mr. Sloboda? Bill Sloboda, our statistician.
Yeah, he ran the nationwide series race back at Lowe's in May and did not qualify at Chicago and Kentucky. He's got a couple of NASCAR Camping World Truck Series starts this year.
Steve, I thought we were going to nickname him Oz. Bill.
Who, Bill?
Yeah.
Bill Sloboda? Why is that?
Well, he kind of reminds me of the guy, the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. He's the man behind the curtain.
We pay attention to our man behind the curtain.
Yeah. But do you remember how that one phrase in there, I'm Oz, know all?
Yes.
That's Bill.
Well, JC's first lap.
Larry changes the subject.
Needs someone to click their heels together.
3 times.
Because right now he's 33rd quickest. The only car that he's a little quicker as far as the go-homers is Morgan Shepherd, so he definitely will run that second lap. And no, I will not be Dorothy.
Oh, come on, Princess.
Oh.
He's going to pick up just a little bit on this second lap. Yeah, please, Mark Smith, take us to break. I can't get out of this one.
Should I explain the princess story?
Nope.
Okie dokie. Let's go to break.
Let's go to break
in
right
10,
now.
9. Coming up, we'll see Willie Allen, Shelby Howard, Ryan Newman. That's John West Townley. He goes out soon as well. Tomorrow, NASCAR race day marches into Michigan as the chase race intensifies. Tune in as Ryan Newman joins us live, plus Wendy Venturini sits down with Stuart Haas Racing's Darian Grubb and Bobby Hutchins. Coverage beginning here in Speed HD at 11 Eastern. See Morgan Shepherd getting some help from Eldora Speedway, which would be owned by Mr. Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Morgan is, I just don't think that 4077 is going to get Morgan in. Right now, the fastest of these Go homers, Jeremy Clements, the 50 car, he's 23rd quickest.
Willie Allen on the Speedway right now, 92 car.
Another one of those 14 drivers attempting to make their first MIS start.
Now he looked really good from the center off down the back straightaway. Saw that car just keep picking up speed as it exited. It's out a little early.
Willie's qualified for 3 races this year. Got a couple of top 20 starts, qualified 17th at Nashville and 18th at Gateway. And I believe this is going to be a pretty solid lap.
Yeah, he's going to like
He
this.
may be the fastest of the Go homers on this lap 1, and he will, 21st quickest.
39.96, 180.149 miles per hour. Let's go back to Bob.
Here's a guy that you may be hearing a lot of in the coming years, Justin Lofton. He's second in the ARCA REMAX Series points, has 3 wins this year. Trying to make your first nationwide series start. Do you have butterflies before qualifying here?
Yeah, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking. We chose to come with a number that didn't have any points. Hasn't been on the track at all this year, so it's a little nerve-wracking. But the weather's holding out for us. Weather's very unpredictable here in Michigan, and we're really excited about CJM Racing. Did an awesome job. Preparing the car. I brought my ARCA crew over, Mark, Rhett, and everyone. They've done a fantastic job, and we're going to go out there and have a nice, solid day.
You always get crazy questions from the booth, and Jeff Hammond just asked, he wants to know how many cattle you have over there with your family cattle business.
Yeah, Lofton Cattle, we currently feed about 80,000 head of cattle, so it's a pretty big operation. Just like anything else we do, you're really stepping into the nationwide series and everything. It all kind of goes hand in hand. So.
Here's the thing, though. He doesn't look like a cattle guy, does he, Hollywood? Look, he looks like Ricky Carmichael with that flat-billed hat.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, I know that's really going to hurt Larry's feelings as far as that's concerned, but, guys with cattle, I mean, they do have hats. How Darryl always likes to say it, I'm always
all hat, no
cattle. So.
Well, he's got 80,000.
80,000. Yeah, I'd say he's got a few.
And a hat.
And a hat to go along with it. His hat's a little different than one I like to wear, but I think a hat looked good on Larry. Steve.
I was actually contemplating, wondering where he got that hat. I may try that.
It's a good look for you.
Looks like a good trackside hat.
Be better than that Bear Bryant thing you've been wearing.
Oh, that boy.
Hold me back.
Hold me backwards. Shelby Howard in the 70 car.
Pretty decent lap for him. 30th quickest, kind of 3rd quickest of the Go home guys.
Shelby has 2 ARCA starts here at Michigan.
I think everybody's feeling pretty good if you can run in those 30s. But when you look at it, he ran 1/100, less than 1/100 quicker than Mike Wallace. And as we're watching this unfold, that right there could be huge.
It could be that. Could be the brake line right there.
I'm digging deep into the recesses of my memory. I believe Shelby Howard won an ARCA REMAX race at Daytona.
I know he won some ARCA REMAX races.
Where you had to go to get that information scares me.
Deep.
Very.
I would say Oz can dig that out for us.
Bill Sloboda's
He gave
checking.
me 2 thumbs up.
Well, the Rocket Man has 2 starts here in Nationwide Series competition. He's got a rather sporty record. 2 times he's been to victory lane.
Be interesting to watch and see what happens here. Made a lot of changes on this 5 car. Tweaks on it, I should say. Maybe not so much changes, but they did make some adjustments to see how fast they can make it go.
He was 24th quickest in that final practice. Like he carried pretty good speed down into turn 1 and 2. It looks like it's stuck.
Yes, it did.
Got a pretty decent lap. Not sure it's going to be down there in that 38.95 zone, but it's going to be maybe a good solid top 10 run for this 5 car. His final start for this 5 team, Jeff talked about Bristol next week, will be at Bristol under the lights on Friday night. Didn't get quite through the middle of 3 and 4 and all 4. It looks like it kicked him out of the top 10. He's 11th quickest at a 39.53. You know that will be nice and safe.
And he'll be followed by Paul Menard, Austin Dillon, Casey Atwood, and John West Townley. Certainly keep you updated as soon as drivers start getting bumped out of the show.
This will be his 6th start total in the Nationwide Series this year. He's got the pole at Talladega, a couple of top 10 finishes.
You know, Jeff, at the top of the show, I talked about 6 of the last 8 races being won from a top 5 start. How about Ryan Newman winning from 38th here back in 2005?
He can get it done here, that's for sure. This is his kind of racetrack, and he makes an attempt to run that, or he makes the second lap, but it does not pick up. He slows down about 1/10 of a second.
I think that's the year, no matter where he started what race, he pretty much won it.
Yes, sir.
He was on a roll for sure.
Mr. Sloboda, have you verified Shelby Howard? Did not win at Daytona. Oh, well. I felt good about that one, too, Larry.
You seem very confident.
I was very confident. So 38 drivers have qualified. As we've said, there are 51 here total. Paul Menard from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, out next. He has 3 starts here at Michigan International. Best start of 7th, best finish of 6th.
He's pretty quick yesterday in that final practice. He was 9th quickest.
Which was actually the quickest of the go or go home cars.
He's qualified well here in the Nationwide Series. Top 15 starts in 6 of his last 8 races. He'll start 35th in tomorrow's Carfax 400 here at Michigan.
You know, I was talking to some people yesterday, and we were just talking about Paul Menard, and of course there was so much enthusiasm of him making the move from DEI to Yates Racing for 2009 in the Cup Series, and it's just not materialized over there this year. I'm sure like anybody anticipated that it would. He's trying to actually make his 9th start in the Nationwide Series in this 98 car. 21st quickest, that's the 2nd quickest go or go home car behind Ryan Newman only at a 39.92, and I know that lap is good and safe, so looks like though he's going to go ahead and maybe run the 2nd lap.
It's a good run off of turn 2 there. Picks up some positions and can hold it through 3 and 4. Now we've noticed a lot of guys be really good to the center of turn 3 and then start giving it back as they head back toward the start finish line. And just the same thing again. It just loses everything right off of turn 4.
Well, you're getting close to 6 miles into your run, including to get up the speed lap, and those tires are just losing more and more grip as you go. That will lock Ryan Newman into the show, though.
Ryan Newman, the first driver locked in of the go or go home drivers. Coming up, Austin Dillon, Casey Atwood, John West Townley, and Dennis Setzer. Can Brian Vickers hang on for the pole? Stay up to date no matter where you are. Get the latest NASCAR results and breaking news sent right to your phone with Speed Mobile Alerts. Just text NASCAR Speed 3 to sign up today. See Terry Cook, he's about to head out onto this Michigan International Speedway. Let's go to Wendy.
Ryan Newman just climbed out of his car. We were talking about sweet corn. No, okay, never mind that. You made 2 laps in this Nationwide car, and I thought it would be an advantage because I saw a cloud cover come over, but it actually was 1/10 slower, so took your chances, right?
Well, it was a good lap for the Fastenal Chevrolet. We didn't do a qualifying run in practice, but we knew we had to have a good qualifying effort being a go or go homer. So we did 2 laps, plan on doing 2 laps, and the cloud was a coincidence. I appreciate you thinking of me, but that was just coincidence, and I think we're 11th or so right now, so it's a decent starting spot for us.
Can you finish your sweet corn story? Is this television? No?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind, guys. Sorry to tease you guys in the booth.
I know we used to always come here to Michigan. They would always feed us sweet corn down in the garage area, Jeff.
Speaking about sweet corn and at least some sweet music right now, it's got to be for Austin Dillon. He's 31st quickest at a 40.28, and Larry, we've already talked about it. He's on the right side of these 30s, and I should put him in a pretty good position to make this race today. And again, one of the cars that they had to work on to get it a little more comfortable for this young man. But so far, he's looking pretty sporty. Going to run this second lap, and he's, once again, he's quicker into turn 3. Let's see what happens. Oh, he gets a piece of the wall right there. A lot of guys have trouble at that part of the racetrack, and he did too.
Yeah, so they're going to have some work to do on this 2 car. Is right now they're going to have to wait it out. I think I'm like you, Jeff. I think that 40.28 is going to be good shape for him. He finished second in the ARCA race here in June. But one thing I know they had to work with him yesterday, and we saw Jeff Burton during a practice session over there, is this car has a lot less power than the engines in the ARCA car. Let's take a look at this. You can see him up high. The car starts to get loose, and you just run out of racetrack up there. You're carrying so much momentum. But what they had to work with him yesterday is this car has a lot less power with the tapered spacer and the 390 carburetor than the ARCA car, is keeping the car wound up, not binding it up, you know, because it's almost like running with a restrictor plate at this racetrack. Because they do run the tapered spacer, you're in the throttle so much. And when they finally got him to do that, he picked up from one run to the other at one point 8 to 9 tenths of a second.
I tell you what was impressive for a 19-year-old, the fact that he got up into the wall and then didn't overcorrect. He basically saved the race car when he got up into the wall. And you can see he got up into the wall pretty hard. Also want to mention Paul Menard is locked into the field now.
I think they can fix that, Larry.
But they're going to have to hurry, Jeff. I mean, it's not but about 4 hours until the green flag drops. And not only are they going to have the body damage, they're going to have to look at the suspension on the right front. They're going to have to look at the rear end housing, the trailer arms. I think they definitely will attempt to fix it, but they've got their work cut out for them.
Take a break. When we come back, we'll see the qualifying attempts of Casey Atwood, John West Townley, the veterans Dennis Setzer, and Terry Cook. Beautiful summer day here at the Michigan International Speedway. NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying continues for this afternoon's Carfax 250. Casey Atwood, a 2-time winner in this division, the racetrack, trying to make his 3rd start of 2009. By the way, Shelby Howard, 3 ARCA wins. Mr. Sloboda verifies none at Daytona.
Close, but no cigar.
I don't get any credit for being close.
Well, Casey Atwood is going to be close on making this show if he doesn't pick it up a little bit. As Jeff and I have been pointing out, you know, we just feel like right now you need to run in the 40-20s or 40-30s to feel halfway safe, and that's a 40-57. That run will lock Paul Menard in, but I think Casey will definitely have to go ahead and make this second lap.
10 more drivers set to qualify here at Michigan.
You know, guys, we always know we've got a lot of fans watching and listening at home. Just got a text message from our old buddy Darrell Waltrip.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary,
40 years.
Stevie and Darrell Waltrip today. Momentous day, I'm sure. And even though it's his anniversary, he wants to spend a little quality time, you know, watching us here on Speed.
He's probably one of our more avid viewers.
Yep.
Casey Atwood's lap actually locks Willie Allen into the show. Let's go down to Wendy.
And you're looking at the right side of Austin Dillon's car. He's right now talking to Dad Mike. And Austin, the guys in the booth said you did a nice job saving it, but your crew chief says that the track bar is pretty bent up. Does this mean you're going to a backup car?
Yeah, if we get in here, I don't know if we're in yet or not, but if we get in, we're going to have to go to backup. Track bar is wadded up a little bit. Didn't know what we had there. He told me to run the second lap, so I just tried to get a little bit more and got up too tight. We were too tight entering the corner. I didn't do a great job getting what I needed to get with the car. Just kind of learning, and we'll get there.
All right, Austin Dillon is now going to make his way back to the Nationwide Garage and wait it out for this qualifying session. See if they do make this race, they will be going to a backup.
All right, thank you, Wendy. John West Townley in the Zaxby's Ford.
Now going back to that 2 car, you know, that's a collective decision that's made between the race team and NASCAR. You saw, obviously, Richard Childress Racing team members inspecting the car. You saw several NASCAR inspectors. You can't just say, I want to go to a backup car. They have to deem, NASCAR has to deem that the car is not repairable.
Speaking of backups,
John West Townley.
I don't think this will be a backup, Steve.
Well, yeah, they're not going to be in the show.
Yep.
Because that was his first lap there. And this team was coming off of a great run last week at Watkins Glen, where Boris said qualified 9th and finished 11th. But they will not race in this 250-mile event later on today.
Larry, it's almost like he got in a little too high and the car just would not hook. Just would not do it.
Car just started getting loose, walking up the racetrack, and just complete loss of grip. And that was a pretty hard lick into that safer barrier. And Jeff, as you and I went through the garage area this morning, I know we were finding people saying the same thing over and over. This track is slick. You know, it's hot here this weekend. Just not a lot of grip.
Misfortune for John West Townley. Good news now for Jeremy Clements, who is locked in.
And that will put Austin Dillon on the bubble. He would be the next car to get locked in.
Safe to say they need to go ahead and unload the backup car, at least in my opinion, and start making preparations for this afternoon.
I'd go to work.
Coming up, Dennis Setzer, Terry Cook, Jason White. Track cleanup continues here at the Michigan International Speedway. John West Townley hits the wall hard. Coming off of turn 2, there's his car being pushed into the garage. And let's keep you updated on who is locked in. Ryan Newman, Paul Menard, Willie Allen, and Jeremy Clements all in as we watch John West Townley once again.
You could see right there in the middle of the corner as the car was going to take a set, back end kicked out, and it just got worse from there.
9 drivers yet to qualify. Dennis Setzer is next up.
You know, Jeff, sometimes it can be deceiving, but to me, I think with what I saw it do in the middle of the corner, the car was so loose, it's almost like he was almost afraid to turn the steering wheel.
And you're right. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. He got off in there, and the car moved up. He got out of the groove area. Again, it's not been cleaned off real good up there, so when he went to go to try to turn it again, it's even that much more loose, so you don't know what to do. And plus, he knows if he spins out, it's probably over with anyway. So driver's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, and this time it was the wall that won.
Great news for those fans in the infield. A 0% chance of rain this weekend, and after the weekends we've had at Pocono and Watkins Glen, that is welcome news. Well, Wednesday night here on Speed, Ron Hornaday looks to continue to rewrite the history books as he goes for a record 6th straight win in Thunder Valley. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Bristol Wednesday night at 8 Eastern.
Can't wait.
6 in a row.
Can't wait. See if he can continue his own slot. I mean, and the thing is, too, he's had some great battles to get to victory lanes. Not like he's been just basically running over the competition and running off and hiding. He's had to fight to get some of those wins.
And, you know, we had Rick Wren on our NASCAR Performance Radio show a couple of times recently with these wins. And when I look at all the stats on that truck, you know, one thing that jumped out at me that was unbelievable, and I think this is so important because when you think about it, the truck races are fairly short races. They have qualified in the top 10 every single race this year. In fact, it's been a year since they qualified outside the top 10. So that means they start up near the front. They get a good pit selection. With these short races in the truck series and a lot of the races in the nationwide series, starting up front is pretty important.
Hey, does Rick Wren got your phone number?
He should.
Well, I was going to say, if they don't qualify in the top 10 at Bristol, he needs to give you a phone call. You put the hex on him.
I bet he'll qualify in the top 10. I'd say he'll be a pole contender.
But we talk about it all the time. They have put themselves in position to win. Ron Hornaday, Rick Wren, that KHI team doing everything they need to do.
You know, I say this carefully because I don't want to uproot what they have there, but I was talking to Ernie Koch this morning, who's the crew chief for Kevin Harvick in the Nationwide Series, and Ernie had a great point, and I have worked with Rick Wren, and there's not a more hardcore racer in any of the 3 garage areas. And what Ernie told me, he said, what Rick does in that NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, he out-details the competition with everything he does, with his trucks, with his strategy, with the way he prepares the truck, with the way he goes about calling the race, everything about it, he just out-details the competition.
Just saw Clint Boyer in his uniform. It's because he's getting ready for Sprint Cup Series practice. You'll see that at 12:30 here on Speed. We'll also have final practice, and you'll see the NASCAR Nationwide Series Carfax 250 on ESPN2. Coverage beginning at 3 o'clock. I believe the green flag scheduled for about 3:30.
And boys, the hourglass sands are drawing smaller and smaller. 4 races to go till we start that chase, and it looks like to me, and I think this could change weekly, but it looks like to me that we have about a 5 or 6 team driver battle for those last couple 3 spots. You know, Casey Kane, we had him on trackside for 1 segment last night, and of course he's kind of just, he's in decent shape but not great shape inside the top 12. And pretty much what he said, it seems like I end up in this position every single year that I've been here. There you see Casey, 8th, but 127 points in front of Kyle Busch, who's 13th. And I said it earlier, will start 39th tomorrow, Kyle Busch in that 18th car.
Definitely got his work cut out for him.
Brian Vickers, the pole sitter for tomorrow's race.
And you talk about pressure right now, guys. It's got to be built on these teams. We mentioned Juan Pablo Montoya. He looks pretty solid right now. But for Casey, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, especially Mark Martin, and then, you know, the guy that's got to be feeling the most is Matt Kenseth. They know they've got to be perfect. They've got to do everything right. And this is kind of like maybe a little bit of a preliminary run for a championship. I mean, that's the thing, is they're going to have to be able to fight off and hang on to that 12th position. And they got 4 races to do it in. But if you go back to the first part of the year, some of these teams really struggle at these upcoming racetracks.
You know, meanwhile, at the head of the point standings, Tony Stewart, we know he's going to clinch here Sunday. That's why he's in that green chiclet. But they're in a totally different, let's say, class. Because what Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon could do, they can gamble and go for a win, because 10 bonus points per win once the chase starts.
And what we have, our little colored chiclets, Tony Stewart, they pretty much, they cannot be knocked out. They're going to start the next 4 races, including tomorrow's race. They are locked. Probably after tomorrow's race, Jimmy Johnson, the 48 team, they'll be locked in. The most points you can gain or lose in one race is 161 points. So Gordon, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards, more than 1 race in. But where it gets real thick is from Montoya on down. But talking about those final 2 real quickly as we're back underway with qualifying, Matt Kenseth said yesterday in an interview, to be quite honest, I'm surprised we're still in the top 12 the way we've run. Yeah, we won the first 2 races, but I'm surprised that we're still there. Mark Martin said, in my mind, of 4 races, I'm still 13th. That's the way I'm going to race this thing.
Love Mark Martin. Well, Dennis Setzer driving a K Automotive car. K Automotive is Keselowski. Brian Keselowski is Brad Keselowski's older brother, and their dad, Bob Keselowski, former NASCAR Camping World Truck Series competitor, and his brother, Ron, their uncle, also a former ARCA racer, all involved in this family team.
And Bob won an ARCA race here, and as we mentioned when Brad was qualifying, this is a home track for these boys.
Looks like good news right there for Dennis Setzer. He's going to wind up being 27th in this 96 car. And guys, that speed should just be guaranteed a lock right there.
It is. He is locked in. His speed, 179.310 miles per hour, of 40.15. And more important than the numbers is the fact that Dennis Setzer will, in fact, race this afternoon in the Carfax 250, the 18th NASCAR Nationwide Series race here at Michigan.
Now, we have 5 cars that are locked. No one has officially been knocked out. We certainly know that John West Townley, the 09 car, though, will be one of the cars that will not race.
91 car, wheelman is Terry Cook.
You know, we've watched Terry a lot this year driving this 91 car. We certainly know he won't be a pole contender, but he seems to be able to reach down in the bag and pull out a great qualifying effort week in and week out when he's behind the wheel of this car.
If he makes the show, it'll be his first nationwide series start here, but he has 10 starts in the Camping World Truck Series.
And right now, the magic number, you need to run a 40.284. Right now, Austin Dillon on the bubble at a 40.285, so that's what'll put you in the show at this moment. And that little green stripe, you just want to be to the left of that because that green stripe represents Austin Dillon. Whoa. But I think what he did, he kind of took a conservative route, getting down in the corner, picked the throttle up and stayed in it, Jeff, which is certainly, I think we even saw that in Sprint Cup Series qualifying yesterday. That seemed to be the hot ticket with the way this track has lost grip. But I'm going to tell you, talking about losing grip, it's getting more and more overcast and cloudy, so this racetrack is not just heat saturated like we anticipated would be right now. But this definitely is going to put Terry Cook into the show. In fact, he's 24th quickest, he's locked in, and that officially sends John West Townley to the house.
Cook from nearby Sylvania, Ohio, 50 miles southeast of this Michigan International Speedway, which is about 70 miles west of Detroit.
I got tickled a while ago when we were at commercial break. As we mentioned, Darrell Waltrip, Stevie Waltrip celebrating their 40th anniversary. Darrell is watching our qualifying session, and he said that was pretty unique, putting in perspective that by the time you get 6 miles on your tires, you're starting to lose grip. I don't think you'd be real happy with a set of passenger car tires that didn't drive as good after 6 miles. But that's the case when you're running around this racetrack as fast as you are with the way that the track temperature and conditions are.
I won't tell you what he texted me about. We were talking about the Wizard of Oz. He made a mention about Dorothy and everything.
I can only imagine.
We won't go there.
30-year-old Jason White piloting that number 07.
It might be a good
Chevrolet.
opportunity to go there because he doesn't have a microphone he can talk back.
See, you have a rare opportunity, Hammond.
What's that?
You can't fight back.
Yeah, but it's like Larry likes to tell Mike Phillips, sooner or later it'll come back around and he will have the mic at hit and he'll have the last word. And, you know.
So you're actually using good judgment.
I'm just going to pick my fights a little more effectively, and today's not the day.
Tell you what, this qualifying run by Jason White, it's going to be right there borderline, and I think if they can go ahead and get qualified and get locked in, they'd be pretty happy because they were not very good in the practices yesterday. This run here, this lap here is not going to lock him in, but he may be one of those cars that'll go ahead and run that second lap. He's 37th at a 40.571. And I think opposite of Terry Cook, he's guilty of really overdriving the entrance to turn one. You saw the tracker go way to the left, but went way to the right on the exit of the corner. So this possibly is going to be awfully good news for Austin Dillon, who we already documented after hitting the wall off turn 4 on lap 2. He will be starting this race in a backup car.
The remaining drivers, Justin Lofton, Johnny Chapman, Kevin LePage, Mark Green, Kevin Hamlin, and Derek Cope will be the final driver to qualify.
That locks Austin Dillon in officially, but unfortunately officially sends Morgan Shepherd in the 89 car to the house.
Yeah, good news for Austin Dillon on his second lap. He smacked the wall up in turn 4. But because of his first lap, he is locked in. Brian Vickers has 6 poles in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series division, but trying to lock down his first nationwide series pole of 2009.
Justin Lofton, we talked about him earlier, actually spoke to him. He was the second quickest go or go home car in practice. He was 14th quickest last night. Scheduled to run about 4 or 5 nationwide series races this year. Was leading the ARCA race here in June and had an ignition problem. But he has won the last 2 ARCA races at Pocono and Berlin.
Got a good lap working here coming off of turn 2 down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he's working on becoming at least the second quickest going home car. Right now, Ryan Newman's the quickest at 11th. Paul Menard's second quickest, 21st. It's going to be a great lap. So it looks like if he gets through 4 okay, that we'll get to watch Justin Lofton make his very first career Nationwide Series start here later on this afternoon. And he will race 18th quickest. Great lap for this young man.
Bad news, though, Larry, for J.C. Stout. That bumps him out of the show. Lofton, 23 years old, from Westmoreland, California. Hammond, how much land do you have to have if you're to use Justin Lofton's terminology, feeding 80,000 head of cattle?
From what I understand, they've got feed lots, so they're actually basically keeping these cattle not on pasture. So you can probably put 80,000, on a couple of hundred acres if you're doing feedlot style, like I'm assuming they're doing.
Not just a fenced-in backyard.
Not just a fenced-in backyard, but it takes a lot of work to be able to keep that kind of inventory fed.
It's quite an operation.
It really is.
Johnny Chapman's out of Statesville, North Carolina. He's 41 years old. He has 2 Michigan starts.
Johnny was pretty decent in the final practice yesterday. He was 25th quickest.
Johnny has 3 D&Qs in 2009. Didn't make the show at Daytona, Talladega, or Chicagoland.
Now what the little green stripe represents now is Shelby Howard in the 70 car. That's a 40.348. Right now, Johnny Chapman looking in great shape in this 90 car that he will probably be racing later on this afternoon. Fortunately, this is probably going to send Curtis Davis to the house in the 0 car, and that will officially knock him out. But Johnny Chapman is officially locked in, so Shelby Howard stays on the bubble.
Johnny Chapman, 30th overall in his Chevrolet. Final drivers coming up. Kevin LePage, Mark Green, Kevin Hamlin, and Derek Cope. Brian Vickers looks like he's going to get a pole position. NASCAR Nationwide qualifying on speed is brought to you by AutoZone, because do-it-yourself doesn't mean you have to do it alone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Kevin LePage in the 73 car, 39th overall. As we are just a handful of drivers away from completing this Nationwide Series qualifying session. Mark Green in the 49 you see on the racetrack. He's followed by Kevin Hamlin and Derek Cope.
So Kevin LePage is not locked in, but he's not knocked out. But he did officially send Casey Atwood in the 05 car to the house.
Did you mention that Shelby Howard is smiling right now?
He is locked in.
Yes, sir.
In that 70 car.
So Casey Atwood, Curtis Davis, J.C. Stout, Morgan Shepherd, and John Wes Townley bumped out. Shelby Howard, the most recent driver to be locked in.
Mark Green has got a whale of a lap going here, Larry.
And you know what? Their qualifying has picked up here lately. You look at the last 4 races, they've got 2 top 15 starts. They qualified 11th at Gateway and 11th at ORP. And he's definitely going to be locked in, it looks like. Our scoring has kind of hesitating here on us, but looked like to me he was well into the top 20. He may be the second quickest go or go home car. We're waiting for scoring to update.
Pretty amazing number for Mark Green. He has qualified for the last 16 races as a go or go home driver.
That's what
clutch.
you call dealing with the pressure.
That's clutch. As Larry said, we have a little bit of a delay in our official timing and scoring monitor on Mark Green's effort.
But based on what we were seeing on the tracker, we're going to pretty much safely say that he is locked in, and is probably going to send Jason White in the 07 car to the house.
That'll bring us down to our final 2 competitors. 31 car Kevin Hamlin on the racetrack now.
27 2009 starts.
His best qualifying effort was 26th at Darlington back on Mother's Day weekend. As long as you're to the left of that little green stripe, you're in good shape.
Playing with that throttle off of turn 4.
Looks like it's going to be between Kevin Hamlin, Derek Cope, and Kevin LePage. First lap 40-16, so that will lock him into the show.
I believe Mike Wallace in the 52 is locked in as well. We say that because we're still awaiting official time on Mark Green's effort. Kevin LePage, Jason White, Casey Atwood, Curtis Davis, J.C. Stout, Morgan Shepherd, John West Townley will not race later this afternoon.
Right now, Mark Green has become unrelated number 8759150 on our scoring monitor. But I think, again, watching the tracker when Mark was qualifying, evidently we've had a little bit of a scoring snafu, but that he should be well into this show.
And Derek Cope is the final driver to qualify here. As we said, big field here, 50-plus cars. That's the good news. The bad news is just 43 will start.
Derek sat on the pole here for the Nationwide Series race back in 1994.
Derek has one win in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. That was also in 1994, but that came at New Hampshire.
And guys, right now that 78 car is on the wrong side of that tracker mark that we've been looking at all morning long. He's making his way back. It's going to be a dogfight back here, looks to me, to the start-finish line. Losing ground off of turn 4, though.
Which we've seen when cars just really lost ground, it's always been on the exit of turn 4. .40.62, that will not get Derek in. We pretty much know he'll have to run. Drove it in there. You could see the car just walk up the racetrack, and to no avail. Derek says this is not going to work, guys. So it looks like Derek Cope will not race as well.
Let's go to Bob Dillner.
It's an all Brian Vickers weekend so far here in Michigan. Brian, congratulations on the pole. Man, you guys are on a run here at this track this weekend now with the nationwide pole.
Thanks a lot. You know, really proud of the Dollar General Toyota. All the guys did a good job. We really focused on race trim yesterday, and that was the first qualifying lap we've made on the track. That's worked out pretty good for us a couple times. We made to stick to that plan, but the car was just unbelievable. Right now we're focused on trying to get this car capable of winning the race. 2 poles are very special, but what we'd really like to be is in victory lane at the end of the race.
What do you need to do on the Sprint Cup Series car with practice coming up to get it even better than it was yesterday?
You know, you want to be able to keep the car turning in the center here and keep your momentum up. I think that's very important. But at the same time, you've got to be able to put the throttle down, especially in this car with all the power you have. That cost us a little bit last time. We got a little too loose in the race, so we're going to try to guard against that and hope it works out for us.
How about this? 4 consecutive poles for Brian Vickers here at Michigan, if you count the 3 consecutive in the Sprint Cup Series, and now the nationwide one as well.
So congratulations to Brian Vickers. He sweeps the pole positions. Don't forget, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice coming up. Brian Vickers becomes the 14th different driver to win a pole position in the NASCAR Nationwide Series in 2009. Also the 16th different pole winner here in 16 races. Time trials have been rained down a couple times here at Michigan International. Stay with us here on Speed. When we come back, we'll have Sprint Cup Series practice for you from MIS.